Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining in and happy Halloween. Have a great show planned for you this week. Later on, I'll have with me Ginny Favede, who is the new president of Wheeling University. We'll be talking about all things involving the university and what the future may hold. But first, we'll start with some of our usual features. I'm going to start off talking by local happening that's really getting national attention, and that is the bankruptcy filing of Murray Energy. A lot of talk about that, and even a number of politicians speaking out on the issue. Senator Manchin commenting this week, and for good reason. There's a lot of concern about what the future holds for not only coal miners and their jobs in the future, but also the pensions they may have earned over the course of years, and what's going to happen with respect to that. Because so many times over the course of the last several decades in particular, we've seen instances where companies file bankruptcy and then end up dissolving those pensions. The people that have earned them over the course of years have trouble getting those pensions, and then these folks that have made, perhaps the operators who have made millions and millions of dollars and become very wealthy, get the protection of the courts and the bankruptcy system, and they're fine and okay. So a lot of concern about that, and that's something that we're going to want to keep an eye on. This is a very early story here this week, but certainly don't want to see any of those folks who have worked very hard. Coal mining is a tough job. You talk about being underground, sometimes 6-7 days a week, number of hours in very difficult conditions, sometimes dangerous conditions. And the one thing that you think you do have is you got a paycheck coming in, and you also are going to have retirement there for you when you ultimately get to retirement age for you and your family. And then you don't have that. That can really cause a lot of heartache and a lot of difficulty, challenges for people who thought that they were protecting themselves for when they ultimately reach retirement age. So let's hope that that doesn't happen with respect to these folks, and that the right things happen, but we'll keep an eye on that story as we move ahead. Also want to talk about another issue that's really been getting a lot of attention here over the last couple of days this week, and that is the moving of Trick or Treat. It caused kind of a social media firestorm and a lot of commotion here in the local area. So Trick or Treat moved from, of course, Thursday to either Saturday or Sunday, depending upon the area. Wheeling moved Trick or Treat to Saturday. I think Steubenville to Sunday, and other places maybe other times. But a lot of talk about that, and it being done because of the weather. And of course, there's people giving thoughts on both sides. Some people saying, well, look, it's supposed to be heavy rain, high winds. You don't want the kids out trick or treating in that. That's not good for them. Other people saying, look, trick or treated in the rain and bad weather a lot of times, and now we're moving it to a Saturday night, which traditionally just trick-or-treat's not done on Saturday night. Even if Halloween, October 31st, falls on a Saturday, typically a trick-or-treat is done either on the Thursday before or maybe on a Sunday night or a Monday night or something like that, to avoid those Friday and Saturday nights where maybe people are having a drink too many, and you got kids out walking around, they're not as careful as they should be. You don't want anything unsafe to happen to a kid, and that's one of the things that's caused me concern about moving it to a Saturday night. Is now you've got people maybe out watching college football games all day or hanging out at bars, whatever it may be, had a drink or too many, and now kids are out trick-or-treating in the dark, and maybe they don't see somebody, maybe they're not quite as tuned in. So, if you are going to be out trick-or-treating on Saturday night, make sure that your kids have something that is reflective, either whether carry a flashlight with them, have something of reflective clothing, carrying a stick that's lights up, or whatever it may be, so that drivers can notice them, and make sure you're aware of what's going on with your kids. And then also, don't drink and drive. You should never drink and drive. Don't, especially this Saturday. Kids are going to be out trick-or-treating. Let's be extra careful out there on the roadways and make sure that we're not, the last thing you want to see, a holiday that's supposed to be fun for kids, is see something tragic happen. So everyone, please, just an extra measure of safety this particular weekend with respect to trick-or-treat. In terms of whether it should have been moved or not moved, look, none of us can predict what weather's going to be like. None of us can predict exactly what's going to happen. There's no real good solution for everybody. Somebody's going to be unhappy, but no matter what's decided. I think city officials were trying to do what they thought was best with respect to kids, and best with respect to what would be best for trick-or-treating. So hopefully all will go well. And that leads me to my quote this week, which is kind of, I think, appropriate. This comes from John Lydgate, who was an English poet, and he said, "You can please some of the people all the time. You can please all of the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all of the time." And that is very true. I've thought that many times over the course of my lifetime, that no matter what you do, you just can't seem to make everybody happy, and you never will. Almost any decision you make, there's going to be some folks that would rather it be a different way, whether it be a decision you make as a boss, whether it be a decision you make as a spouse, whether it be a decision you make with friends. Somebody might rather go to this restaurant. Somebody might rather do this. You know, you're never going to make all the people happy all the time. You just have to do the best you can. So with that, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'll have with me Ginny Favede, the new president at Wheeling University. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
When reviewing your oil and gas offers or royalty check statements, do you wonder, am I being offered a fair amount? Do I feel comfortable reading the statement? Do I have peace of mind? If you answered no to these questions, you need Bordas Mineral Management. Our passion is helping mineral owners protect and expand their mineral wealth. Our examiners tell you whether you're being treated fairly and getting paid what is rightfully yours. Bordas Mineral Management. Be protected. Have peace of mind.
Recommended by the highest authorities. Danoon Lumber.
Looks like a bad one's coming. Yeah. Right?
Welcome back to the show. This is my favorite time each week when I have a guest with me, and this week's no different. I have with me Ginny Favede, who is the new president at Wheeling University. And Ginny, thanks for being here on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
What a big change for you. You know, you've played a lot of roles over the course of your career. Most recently, of course, you know, at OVCEC, Project Best, but now a big shift going from, you know, the construction industry, so to speak, to the educational arena. And so, you know, what caused you to do that?
Oh heavens, you know, when you say that, the first thing that pops into my mind was I said recently, I love kids. I mean, anyone who knows me knows I love kids. I love sports, and I love being Catholic. And did you know they had a job that actually had, you know, the reality that you actually get to deal with those three things every day? You know, for me, it's an absolute blessing. It is a wonderful institution and a wonderful opportunity.
I was talking about during the break about Coach Lou Holtz when I was in school, a different quote, but what you just said reminded me of something totally different that he said. And he said, you know, if you can figure out, you know, what you're good at, you know, what you enjoy and what the needs of the world are, and you can combine those things and do something, then, you know, you really have found your place. And what you just said kind of reminded me of that. You know, it's something that some things that you're passionate about, and certainly a need there at Wheeling University at the time, and then you know, something that you're able to help with. But I know, you know, a lot of fond feelings that you have for the university, and I'm sure that contributed, but you know, you were chairman of the board for a period of time, a very brief period of time, before becoming president. But what can people expect to see? I mean, there's been so much change, you know, with the university and so much concern about its future. What can people expect going forward?
Going forward, it is about planned effort, and that's what we've been working on for the last couple of weeks. You'll recall back in August, you know, we had the HEPC that came, you know, on an on-site visit, and from that we were obviously reauthorized. And part of that, again, was a blessing in disguise, because they put benchmarks in for us, which has been wonderful, because it's keeping us on track. Things that we should have been doing, the university should have been doing all along. One of those items is a 5-year strategic plan, you know, and how are you going to get to the point that not only are you successful on an annual basis, but successful 5 years from now. So we've actually been able to create a plan that has measurable goals for the amount of students and how many we're going to bring in each year, as well as the amount of money that we're going to raise and what we're going to do with that money, which is bring back programs, obviously bring back degrees. So I think the thing that they can expect, the public can expect, is that Wheeling University, by any name, is going to remain open. Our doors are open. Saturday was a perfect example. We had a scrimmage against Bethany in the morning. We had a football game against Frostburg in the afternoon. We had a volleyball game going on. The boys were up at Ogilvie for a cross-country meet, and then up at I-470 there was an inter-squad scrimmage with baseball, and then Central was using the field in the evening. And it is a vibrant community. The kids are everywhere. Kids were on a retreat this weekend, and so we're going to keep the doors open, and we're going to grow the university with planned effort. In the next week, we're going to be kicking off a 5-year capital campaign. Our goal is to raise $5 million a year for 5 years, for 25 years, $25 million overall. We're kicking that off with an employee breakfast. I believe, and myself personally, you never ask anyone to do something you're not willing to do yourself. So we're utilizing that premise, and we're asking the employees 100% participation, put, as we call it, skin in the game. And then we're going to take it out to the alumni and to the public. We're going to be looking at corporate partnerships and making sure that we're touching all aspects, because the university is important. It's important to a lot of people. And we're making sure that we're doing the things that need to be done to keep it open.
Well, that's good to hear, because I think that the university has been such an important part of the Wheeling community for so long. And as I mentioned, people are very concerned about the future. And one of the things you just touched upon, one of the big concerns, of course, is where's the money going to come from? It takes a lot of money, and people reading about, even here as recently as this week, the contributions of the diocese to try to help, maintain the university and giving, multi-millions of dollars. And where's that going to come from? And I guess your hope is you can raise it.
Yeah, we have 13,000 alumni. Ironically enough, I actually met with Rabbi Leaf this morning, and his sister is an alumni, and he told me that she has never received a single solicitation as an alumni.
Interesting.
So again, we've failed to do a lot of due diligence, if you will, and you're going to see that. You're going to see an effort on a long-term basis, raising money, but also putting those things into place so that we're actually having relationships with our alumni. Because the past is important, those that were there, as well as building relationships with the ones that are coming, and providing a good experience for our kids that are there currently.
What kind of response have you gotten from the faculty? I mean, obviously, anytime there's new leadership, there's or change anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
People wonder how this change going to go, and I'm sure that's you've had to interact with those folks. And what's the response been like?
You know what? The response has been really positive. I think the biggest issue has been the constant sense of change. I'm the 13th president, and a university that started, in 1954. That's a lot of presidents, and just the constant change, and then there would be a change of direction. And what happened over the summer was symbolic of a coming together of people. So we had, we'd filed fiscal exigency and lost a lot of employees. Then we lost a lot of students, and then with the HEPC visit that was coming, it was like devastating. And when we knew they were coming, I was meeting with the staff at that point as the chairman of the board, and we decided that if they were going to come, to our house, as you would at home, if folks are coming to visit, we decided to clean up the campus, and we had Campus Beautification Day. And that sounds silly to some extent, but people who work together to work on something builds, camaraderie. And it was something, it was a sight to behold. Everybody was everywhere. The kids were working. They brought in their spouses and their kids, and we had companies coming, and chipping in and donating things and helping out. And we're painting. The athletic director was on a spinning chair in the second floor of one building, cleaning the walls himself. And so it was. People came together, they bonded, and they took back what was theirs.
I saw you even taking down a sign that said dogs are allowed now.
Well, that wasn't well received.
It wasn't.
It's one thing that I've learned in my former life as an elected official. Animals are very important to people, and to some people they are their children. And who are we to decide, what family can or cannot walk on a community-based campus? And if it's you're walking through with your little girl versus you're walking through with your your pug. And I found it to be, it was very prohibitive. And I kept telling them, you're going to take those signs down. Nobody likes that kind of thing. And after the third time I said it, I said, could you get me a screwdriver? I'm going to take it down myself. And ironically enough, every day you walk in, people are walking their dogs, they're everywhere. And so the communities come back to the campus, which is important because it belongs to the community. I lived in Jimmydale when Lee and I were first married, and we were talking earlier, I ran through Wheeling Jesuit University every single day, 5 days a week. I can't imagine if they would have said, oh no, you're not welcome on the campus. Yeah. Because it never occurred to me that I wasn't allowed there. So if I'm walking my dog, I should still be allowed there.
We need to take a break, but when we come back, we'll continue talking about what the future may hold for Wheeling University. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
Sometimes bad things happen to good people. At Bordas and Bordas, when we see this, we do something about it. We can't prevent bad things from happening, but we can get justice when they do.
Bordas and Bordas, fighting for justice.
You can love what you drive.
Sunset Motors continues to be the 2019 Ohio Valley leader in Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, and Dodge sales. During Ram Power Days, at 25% off a 2019 Ram. Or lease one for $299 per month. Lease a Gladiator Sport for $359 per month. Or buy one for $38,105. Get a new Jeep Compass starting at $18,220. Or lease a Latitude for $279 per month.
You can love what you drive at Sunset.
Welcome back to the show. I've been speaking with my guest, Ginny Favede, who is the new president at Wheeling University, and talking about some of the changes there and what the future may hold. And, you know, one of the questions that people may have, and you alluded to this a little bit earlier, you said you want to bring degrees and programs back, but what exists now and then what could people maybe expect to see in the future? Well,
I think that most of the public knows that we just returned English, engineering, and we returned biology, which is extraordinarily important. We're going to be bringing a criminal justice online program. I think one of the things that's important to know is that a lot of our problems are unique to Wheeling University, but many of them are plagued, liberal arts colleges across the country are plagued by the exact same problems. You know, it is what it is. We have college education costs are skyrocketing, whereas we're having a decrease in the number of kids that families are having because it is so expensive to have a family. So you have a smaller population, costs are going up, and a lot of colleges are struggling because a lot of federal dollars fell away in the late 80s and 90s. So you see the need for innovation. And previously Wheeling Jesuit was not innovative and didn't take the initiative to create a strong online program, because you can teach to the traditional student that is available 5 days a week to go to school, but we also have to teach to those that are trying to put themselves through school and still work for a living, or trying to get a degree while they're already employed. And so having the opportunity to do online program will create significant revenue for us and allow us to teach to the non-traditional students. So you're going to see a lot of that come online for us as well.
What are the hopes in terms of enrollment? Where are you and where do you hope to go with that?
Well, we are planning on about a 15% increase in population on an annual basis, and we're hoping to be upwards, over 1,000 kids, undergrad, in the 5-year span. We had 400, just shy of under 400 this year. We actually hit our mark after everything that transpired. We still brought in 125 kids in August, and we're going to see that growing. We're actually seeing kids that transferred out are transferring back in. Really? And I want to speak to that because the reality of it is a lot of kids left. We lost over 600 kids. They didn't necessarily leave because we cut their major. They left because the university failed to communicate. We didn't communicate to the parents, we didn't communicate to the kids, we didn't communicate to the public, and it's one of the things that we've tried to do is we've tried to share, everything that's going on at all times, because it's dangerous when you act in a vacuum. And it was hurtful to lose those kids. It hurt them, it hurt their families. My son left. That was heartbreaking for me because even as a board member, I did not know if we were going to open our doors or be open through the end of this year, and it was devastating.
So if you had 30 seconds here to say to a parent out there or a potential student, here's why you should come to Wheeling University, what would you say to them?
You know what, I would say that you should come to Wheeling University because, as we all know, Wheeling as a whole is a wonderful place to raise your children. You're going to come to a beautiful campus that is beloved by many. Your kids are going to be known by their first name. They're going to know their professors. They're going to be successful because of the 4 years that they're with us. They're going to have people that are vested in them, and they're going to have opportunities for internships with companies around us that are many times alumni driven or alumni owned or run, and we're going to help their children be successful because we're a small community faith-based organization that still does exactly what we've always done. We provide them with the best 4 years of their life, and we make sure they're successful, not only with a degree, but with the character that they're going to take out into the world.
I think you probably just sold some people. So I really appreciate you being here today, and good luck to you. I know it's quite a challenge, but I know one that you're passionate about and that you'll put your whole heart into, and because of that, I think it'll probably go well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We need to take a break. When we come back, I'll be talking sports. Stay with us here.
Disasters happen. Pick the team that takes care of them all. Powered by offices in Wheeling, Morgantown, and Pittsburgh, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration is ready to handle any size emergency at a moment's notice. We have the right people, knowledge, and equipment to respond 24 hours a day.
I'm Neil Brown. When disaster strikes your home or business, tell your insurance provider you prefer the restoration company the Mountaineers call, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.
When reviewing your oil and gas offers or royalty check statements, do you wonder, am I being offered a fair amount? Do I feel comfortable reading the statement? Do I have peace of mind? If you answered no to these questions, you need Bordas Mineral Management. Our passion is helping mineral owners protect and expand their mineral wealth. Our examiners tell you whether you're being treated fairly and getting paid what is rightfully yours. Bordas Mineral Management. Be protected. Have peace of mind.
Welcome back to the show. It's time to talk sports, and we'll start in the city of Pittsburgh, where the Steelers were able to get a victory over the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football in a game that had a lot of Steelers fans concerned in the first half. It's interesting to get on Twitter or Facebook or any other social media forums during the games, because people were going crazy during the first half. Oh, the Steelers, the season's done, it's over, etc. And then, of course, the team started coming back. Mason Rudolph started heating up a little bit. James Conner, of course, with an outstanding game, 145 yards rushing, and the AFC Offensive Player of the Week in the win over the Dolphins. But injuring his shoulder late in the game, only under 3 minutes to go in the game, he was still in the game. Some people questioning Coach Tomlin as to why he had him in, but of course, Benny Snell had been injured during the game. Jalen Samuels was out with an injury, so that left just Edmonds as the running back, and he just didn't feel like he'd gotten a lot of practice during the week and was a little concerned being up, only 13 points, and so left James Conner, and that happens sometimes in football. But of course, now banged up and questionable for this week's game. Benny Snell, the knee injury, probably not likely to play in this week's game. But Jalen Samuels should be back. That's the good news. He's been cleared. He's healthy. He had knee surgery a few weeks ago and should be back for this week's game at Heinz Field against the Colts. And now, the Steelers faced the Colts, who are coming off a 3-game winning streak and are first place in the AFC South. Really, I think, needing a win either this week or next week. The Colts this week, the Rams next week, both at Heinz Field. And I'd said before the Dolphins game that the Steelers really could win 4 of the next 5 games. Well, they got the one, and then they've got, Colts, Rams, and a couple games against the Browns and a game against the Bengals mixed in there. So, looking at that, I think they have to get either a win against the Colts or a win against the Rams. I think the chances are better to get this win against the Colts. I think the Steelers will go out and do it this week, but I think it'll be a very tight game. I think the Steelers get the win, but it will be close. But like I said, I think they got to get one of the next 2 here to stay alive kind of in the playoff mix. They're back to, kind of got their heads above water now, so to speak, but, still a long way to go to get a playoff berth. Let's turn to professional golf. Tiger Woods won last weekend at the Zozo Championship in Japan to tie Sam Snead for the most victories ever on the PGA Tour with 82, and pretty remarkable. This was the first ever PGA Tour event in Japan, and of course, it just only seems natural that Tiger Woods would win it, but not natural because of the fact that the way he had played after his Masters win in April this year left a lot to be desired. I mean, he really had a pretty miserable rest of the year, then had knee surgery a month or 2 ago to clean up some cartilage, things of that nature. It was questionable whether he'd even be able to play anymore this year. And not only plays, but comes back and really looks impressive, finishing 19 under in that win and, beating Hideki Matsuyama by 3 strokes. Gary Woodland was in the final group with Tiger Woods. Rory McIlroy in the tournament. A lot of big names in this tournament. And now it looks like Tiger Woods will likely be a playing captain on the President's team for the United States in December. Now, Tiger Woods is the captain of the team. He'd been declared captain, a couple years ago. And the way this works is the top 8 U.S. players in the world are automatic qualifiers, and it's as of a certain date, and that date's already passed, and Tiger wasn't in the top 8. At the time, he was 10, 11, somewhere in that range. But the captain also gets to make 4 wild card picks on his own, so the big question was, would Tiger pick himself? Well, with this win, he's now all the way up to number 6 in the official golf world rankings standings. And I think he'll most certainly pick himself as a member of that team to be a playing captain. And he was asked about that after the Zozo Championship, and he said, well, I think the player certainly got the captain's attention, and I think he's going to pick himself, and we'll see what will happen there. It's always fun, those events where you're playing other countries and things of that nature. And Tiger also hoping to make the Olympic team. The top 4 U.S. players at the time that the qualifying happens will make the U.S. Olympic team, and he's never gotten to participate. This is kind of new, golf being involved in the Olympics, and he says he'd love to win a gold medal. That's something he hasn't done, so keep an eye on that too. NBA season off to start now. Golden State Warriors, who've been kind of a dynasty the last half decade, off to a tough start. No Klay Thompson, no Kevin Durant. A lot of other guys gone from that team. Really took it on the chin from the LA Clippers early on. The Clippers beat both the Lakers and the Warriors in week 1. Milwaukee at the big comeback over the Rockets. I like the Lakers, though, to win the NBA championship this year. I think you get LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and they have enough other parts there to go together that I think once they start figuring each other out, I think the Lakers end up winning. I think they'll beat the Bucks in the finals next June. That's my pick. Let's set out your college football Saturday for you. Number 1, 2, 3, and 5 are all off this week, so some of the most highly ranked teams you won't be seeing, but some games to maybe take a look at just because they're interesting. At noon, Houston, Dana Holgerson's team, at University of Central Florida on ESPN2. Holgerson now 3-5 at Houston. Not what they paid him all that money to come do. UCF only a 1-point loss to Pitt, a 3-point loss to Cincinnati. I think UCF wins and Holgerson drops to 3-6, meaning they'll have to win out to make a bowl game even, and got people a little bit upset down there in Texas. At 2:30, Virginia Tech at number 16 Notre Dame on NBC. Notre Dame an embarrassing loss to Michigan last week. I didn't see that coming at all. One of the most embarrassing losses in the last 3 decades I can remember for Notre Dame. Virginia Tech on a 3-game winning streak, but Notre Dame hasn't lost at home in like 3 seasons. I'll take the Irish in this one. Then a big game, the world's largest cocktail party, they call it, in Jacksonville. 3:30, number 8 Georgia versus number 6 Florida, right here in WTRF on CBS. Both highly ranked in the SEC East, 2 well-coached teams, fast defenses. Who can move the ball more? I think Georgia, the Bulldogs, win that one. And then 2 Pac-12 games on Fox, one at 4 o'clock, one at 8 o'clock. At 4 will be number 9 Utah at Washington. Jacob Eason, too good at quarterback. Chris Peterson, 2 weeks to get ready for Washington. I think Washington knocks off number 9 Utah with the upset there. Washington beats Utah. And then at 8 o'clock, I'll take another upset. Number 7 Oregon at USC. I think USC beats Oregon. Oregon's been living on the edge the last 2 weeks. They beat Washington by 4, Washington State by 2. These teams are first in the North and the South in the Pac-12. I think it'll be a really tight game, but Oregon doesn't pull this one out on the road. USC pulls the upset at home and wins that ball game, really eliminating the Pac-12 from the national championship conversation. That's all the time we have this week. Thanks for joining in. We'll see you next time on the Jamie Bordas Show.